I paid thousands for my best friend's wedding, and she kicked me out because of being fat. Now, she refuses to pay me back. I, 27F, have been best friends with Claire, 28F, since high school. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I was thrilled and went all out to make her wedding special. I paid for the bridal shower, bachelorette party, a weekend trip, decorations, and other expenses, spending several $1,000s. While it was a lot of money for my husband and me, I wanted to make her big day perfect, because she's like family to me. 2 months ago, I shared that I'm 4 months pregnant. Claire congratulated me but started acting distant afterward. She excluded me from conversations about the wedding and made passive comments about how hard it is to coordinate when people are distracted. I brushed it off thinking it was wedding stress. A few days ago, she sat me down and told me she didn't want me in the wedding anymore. Her reason? I'm getting too fat, and she doesn't want me in the pictures. She said she has a specific vision for her wedding, and I no longer fit it. I was devastated. I asked if this was about my pregnancy, but she insisted it wasn't personal. She said she was replacing me as MOH with another friend who fit her aesthetic. I told her if I wasn't in the wedding, I wouldn't attend at all. I also handed her the receipts for everything I'd paid for and told her she or her fiancé needed to reimburse me since I'd only spent that money as her MOH. Claire flipped out, calling me selfish and accusing me of trying to ruin her wedding. She said it was tacky to ask for the money back and that expenses like these were my responsibility as MOH. I reminded her that she removed me from that role, so those expenses were no longer mine. Since then, Claire, her fiancé, and even her family have been spamming me with calls and texts. They're accusing me of being petty and overreacting because of pregnancy hormones. They're also saying I should have just let it go and written off the money because weddings are stressful, and Claire didn't mean to hurt me. My husband has been incredibly supportive and says I did the right thing. He's furious at how Claire treated me and agrees that I shouldn't be out thousands of dollars for a wedding I'm not part of. I feel heartbroken and humiliated by someone I thought was my best friend. Still, the constant backlash has made me second-guess myself. Aida for standing up for myself and asking for reimbursement? Should I have just quietly stepped aside? Update 1. All right, after a solid week of ignoring Claire's texts and calls, it looked like things had died down, but her fiancé, let's call him Mike, apparently didn't get the memo. Mike decided to hit up my husband, thinking he could reason with him or maybe guilt trip him into getting me to back down on the whole reimbursement thing. Huge mistake. My husband's been holding back his frustration this whole time, but once Mike got involved, he wasn't having it. He picked up, kept it civil for about a minute, then just unleashed everything on Mike. Basically, he said that it was insane for them to even consider asking for the money if they didn't want me involved anymore. He told Mike that weddings are supposed to be about celebrating with people who support and love you, not about making people look like extras in a movie set for some vision. Mike apparently tried the "but weddings are stressful" card, and my husband shot back that I wasn't the one who started this whole mess. If Claire wanted to kick me out, that was her choice, but I wasn't some wedding ATM here to fund their dream wedding. He even said, if you two didn't want her in the pictures, then you don't get her wallet either. Mike started saying something about how it's just tacky to ask for the money back, to which my husband said, "You think it's tacky? Well, let's see how tacky it gets when this ends up in small claims court." And yeah, my husband went there. I don't think Mike expected him to pull out the legal card, because he got real quiet after that. After that call, things finally went quiet for a bit. But a few days later, Claire pops up on social media with some cryptic post about how some people don't understand the meaning of friendship, and how sad it is to see true colors come out. It didn't name me directly, but it was obvious who she meant. Comments started flooding in from mutual friends, all sympathizing with her stress, and how hard it must be to have toxic people around during such an important time. I don't know what she told them, but from the comments, it sounds like she played it off like I was the one who dropped out of the wedding last minute for selfish reasons, leaving her high and dry with a bunch of unpaid expenses. I decided I wasn't going to comment on her post. I mean, it would just make me look bitter, and honestly, the last thing I needed was more drama. But apparently, the story didn't stay there. A mutual friend of ours, Sarah, messaged me asking if everything was okay. Sarah's always been pretty neutral and avoids gossip, so I felt comfortable telling her my side. She was shocked. She had no idea Claire had been this cruel and was horrified that Claire would tell people I bailed on her without mentioning that she's the one who kicked me out. She ended up texting Claire, confronting her about the other side of the story. Here's where it gets juicy. Claire doubled down. She told Sarah that I was acting entitled, saying I didn't fit her aesthetic for the wedding, and that she was honestly doing me a favor by letting me go because people would stare at my unflattering figure. Yup. She said those words. Sarah sent me screenshots of the conversation, and I just sat there, stunned. I couldn't believe someone I considered my best friend would say something so blatantly cruel, and I wasn't sure what I was more upset about, the comment itself or the fact that Claire thought it was okay to say out loud to other people. Seeing that, I realized that I couldn't keep silent anymore. I needed to defend myself because Claire had no problem lying about me and throwing me under the bus to make herself look like the victim. I posted a clear, calm update on my social media explaining the situation, laying out that Claire had removed me as her MOH because she didn't like how my pregnancy affected my body, and that I'd only asked for the money back because I was no longer in the wedding. I didn't add any drama, just facts, and ended by saying that while I loved Claire, I was heartbroken by her actions and hoped people would understand why I felt hurt. I wasn't there to start a war, just to clarify my side. And oh boy, did it blow up. I think Claire wasn't expecting me to stand up for myself. Within hours, comments started flooding in, both on my post and Claire's. A lot of people who'd commented on her post were now questioning things. Some mutual friends messaged me, apologizing for assuming I'd just ditched her wedding and saying they were shocked Claire would body shame me. A few even publicly called her out, saying things like, "This doesn't sound like the Claire I thought I knew." I could tell it was a huge hit to her image, especially since she's always been the one in our group who acts like she's the compassionate and supportive friend. It didn't take long before Claire started backpedaling. She texted me directly, saying she never meant for things to get so out of hand, and that she was sorry if I misinterpreted her intentions. I couldn't believe she was trying to spin it like I misunderstood her actions when she'd clearly said exactly what she felt about my pregnancy and appearance. I told her politely that I didn't think it was possible to misinterpret being told I was too fat for her wedding. I said that I was open to an apology, but I wasn't interested in clearing the air for her reputation's sake. I just wanted what was fair. Then Claire tried something else. She said, "Well, since you were technically still part of the wedding party when you paid for all those things, don't you think it was fair to contribute to my day?" I couldn't believe she was trying to justify keeping my money. I told her flat out that if she didn't pay me back, I would seriously consider small claims court. And I wasn't bluffing. She tried to guilt trip me, saying, "I can't believe you'd ruin our friendship over money." But I reminded her that I'd spent thousands to make her day special, because I thought I was her best friend. If that wasn't worth respecting, then I didn't know what was left of our friendship to ruin. Claire didn't respond after that, but I can tell she's panicking because now some mutual friends are starting to avoid her. The last I heard from Sarah, a few people are planning on dropping out of the wedding altogether because they're uncomfortable with how Claire treated me. It wasn't what I wanted. I never intended to sabotage her wedding. I just wanted my side heard, and I wanted my money back. I don't know if she'll ever own up or pay me back, but at this point, I'm just relieved to have supportive friends and a husband who's been my rock through this. Update 2. All right, so right after the fallout on social media, things got even messier. I guess Claire didn't think I'd actually stand up for myself because she went into full damage control. Instead of just apologizing or, I don't know, paying me back, she started messaging everyone who defended me and giving them her side. Apparently her version was that I was this overly emotional, dramatic pregnant lady who couldn't handle being part of a wedding and just threw a fit because she'd made a simple change in her bridal party. According to her, I blew everything out of proportion and dragged her through the mud over nothing. But people weren't really buying it. After all, screenshots don't lie, and the one Sarah sent me basically had Claire admitting she thought I'd ruin her aesthetic just by being pregnant. Some mutual friends told her straight up that if she didn't want people to know how she really felt, she probably shouldn't have said it in the first place. Then Claire, still refusing to admit any fault, started framing this as her trying to protect me because she didn't want me overdoing it while pregnant. I guess in her mind, excluding me from the wedding entirely was just her being considerate or whatever. It was honestly sad watching her try to spin this mess with every excuse she could think of instead of just owning what she did. Meanwhile, I decided to check in on a few more people who'd been there for me through all this, making sure they knew how much I appreciated them. My husband, by the way, has been the real MVP. He's managed to make me laugh about things, saying stuff like, "Well, at least you dodged that bridesmaid dress," and suggesting we go out for some photo sessions of our own to celebrate your aesthetic. I'm not even sure what he was trying to get at, but I think he just wanted to lighten the mood. My pregnancy hasn't been the easiest, and I've been dealing with the usual nausea, aches, and mood swings. But honestly, seeing who's actually there for me and who's just here for appearances has been eye-opening. Now here's the plot twist. A few days later, I got a message from Mike. Yes, that Mike. He apparently felt the need to clear the air and reached out with a pretty long message. He started off all serious, saying he was disappointed in how things turned out, and that he thought I'd been one of Claire's closest allies. Like, I was just her best friend 2 months ago, but suddenly I'm an ally they lost along the way. It felt weirdly formal, like he was giving some speech. Anyway, he started hinting at how hard Claire's been taking everything, how she never intended to hurt me, and that she's just been under a lot of pressure because they're struggling to pay off the wedding. Then he threw in that they still haven't made up the money they spent on my replacement. So I asked the obvious question. If they're struggling to pay for the wedding, why did Claire kick out the one person who'd already paid for half the bridal stuff? He ignored that, then went on about how I could help smooth things over by maybe posting something about forgiving Claire and making amends. I couldn't believe what I was reading. They weren't even trying to make it right. They were just trying to salvage her reputation and get me to backtrack on what I said publicly. I could feel my blood boiling. I told Mike that I wasn't interested in helping Claire save face when she couldn't even apologize properly. Then Mike really dropped a bombshell. He admitted that Claire had felt insecure about her looks ever since she started wedding planning. Apparently, she got this idea that she needed her wedding party to look like a dream, and that included everyone looking super fit, super polished. He said it got to the point where she was micromanaging how everyone in the bridal party looked, even telling one bridesmaid to get a spray tan because her pale skin would wash out in photos. I guess I was just her last fix when she realized she couldn't control my pregnancy, so she decided to cut me out instead. I told him that was not an excuse. Just because she was feeling insecure didn't make it okay to treat her supposed best friend like some disposable prop. I said I still wanted my money back and that if Claire couldn't find it in herself to apologize, then that's on her. But I wasn't about to be bullied into rewriting history to make her feel better. I told him I'd consider dropping the public stuff if she refunded what I spent. That's when Mike got weird. He said something like, Claire's always seen you as a sister, but you clearly don't feel the same. I think that was his way of trying to guilt trip me, but it backfired. I asked him how he thought a sister would react to being treated like this, and that's when he just stopped responding. After that, things were mostly quiet again, until Claire tried to come back around. I think she finally realized she was running out of options because this time she messaged me directly, saying she was ready to talk. I was half expecting another round of her trying to guilt me or some half-hearted apology, but it felt different this time. She actually admitted that she was out of line and said she felt terrible for everything that happened. She went on about how she let her obsession with the perfect wedding get the best of her, and that she just didn't know how to stop once she got started. But here's the kicker. She followed that up by asking if I'd consider coming to the wedding as a guest, just to make peace. I couldn't help but laugh. She still wanted me to come to her wedding, even after all this. I asked her if she was going to pay me back for the bridal stuff. She said, "I don't know if I can do that right now with everything that's happened." I pointed out that she still had all the decorations and gifts I'd bought, not to mention that I'd paid for that whole bachelorette weekend and bridal shower. She then tried to suggest that maybe we could forget the money and just move forward. I told her flat out that forgiveness doesn't pay bills, and that if she wasn't going to pay me back, then I had no reason to be anywhere near her wedding. I think that's when she realized I was serious. She got quiet for a bit, then said something like, "I guess I'll see what I can do." I told her that was fine, but that I wouldn't be holding my breath. That's pretty much where we left things, and I haven't heard from her since. A few friends have reached out, asking if I'm planning to go to the wedding, or if I think things will ever be back to normal with Claire. And honestly, I don't think so. At this point, I'm just focusing on my pregnancy and the people who've actually shown up for me through all this. I'm not holding out for her to actually refund me, but if she does, maybe that would be the first sign that she's serious about making things right. But I think she's so deep into her perfect wedding mindset that any money she gets is just going to go right back into making her day look flawless, not fixing the mess she made with her friendships. And I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with the fact that sometimes people just aren't who you thought they were.